Thank you for joining me in this podcast. This is Sarvesh Bhardwaj, and I'm a space coach. In today's podcast, we are going to talk about astronomy. Astronomy initially began about thousands of years ago as a descriptive science tracking the motion of the sun, moon, planets, and stars. The ancient people used their observations to keep track of time, plan agriculture planting, orient their cities, and try to predict the future. Earlier astronomy was a mix of careful observation of the positions and motion of heavenly bodies, religion, and astrology. The term astronomy means a law of stars. Understanding astronomical observation, phenomena, and their evolution requires extensive application of maths, physics, and chemistry. Hence, most astronomers call themselves astrophysicists. In fact, if you want to become a space scientist, you have to take care of your subjects like maths, physics, and chemistry. Do you know, astronomy was studied long before when written languages were developed. So much of the early knowledge were passed by conversation. They were passed down orally and would have been lost to the centuries. The written records of many ancient civilizations did not survive the passage of time and are now lost to us. Nicolaus Copernicus published the first paper of the universe prediction model in 1543. He claimed that Earth was merely another planet orbiting the Sun, which was later on proved by Galileo Galilei in 1632. Surprisingly, Indians were aware of this concept as early as 9th century BC. An ancient philosopher and many ancient Indian scientists, estimated that the Sun is the center of the solar system and the Earth rotates around it. I would like to talk about Aryabhata here. Aryabhata calculated the planet's orbit are not circular, it's elliptical. And the Earth spins on its axis in 24 hours, based on the reference in ancient literature. He was able to comprehend planetary movements and explain solar and lunar eclipse with high precision, high accuracy. Aryabhata's single surviving work is Aryabhatiya. It's available on Amazon in form of a book. The name astronomy is actually a Greek word which means astronomia. So astronomy comes from a Greek word called astronomia, which means laws of the stars. Plato lived in the 5th century BC and was a great philosopher. Many people till today believe that he was the greatest philosopher who ever lived. Despite the fact he was not an astronomer or a scientist, Plato developed some models, some diagrams of astronomy. He claimed that all the celestial objects, bodies, are perfect sphere and their movements are in circular motion. Later on, a Greek philosopher, physicist named Aristotle splitted cosmos into two parts. He said, there is earth and rest is heaven. Heaven was flawless, while earth was imperfect. The moon served as a divine line between these two halves. The earth, according to Aristotle, was the center of universe. The geocentric universe was eventually named after this idea. Geocentric universe means earth in the center and everything revolving around it. The Ptolemaic model was created approximately in the 2nd century AD, which modified this geocentric model. And further it was modified by Nicolaus Copernicus. As I mentioned earlier, Nicolaus Copernicus came up with a heliocentric model in 1543. Heliocentric model. Helios in the center, the sun in the center. Nicolaus Copernicus said the sun is in the center and all the planets revolve around it, which was later proved by Galileo and Johannes Kepler. The telescope was created in 1608 by Hans Lippershey, a German-Dutch lens manufacturer. Hans Lippershey's father was also an optician, and Hans Lippershey was also an optician, a lens manufacturer. So he had an habit of playing with the lenses. And somehow, while playing, in 1608, a telescope was invented. But the purpose of Hans Lippershey was not to see stars, planets. His purpose was to do terrestrial observation. He thought of seeing the cattle. There was no CCTV camera in the past. So he wanted to observe the ground, take care of the security or whatsoever. And he sold many telescopes that time. But Galileo was trying to make a better telescope. And Galileo was not successful in making a telescope. So when he got a telescope which was invented in 1608, within 1 year, 1609, telescope was modified by Galileo. And Galileo pointed this telescope towards the sky. It is said that Galileo is the modifier of a telescope. He improved it. So the invention was done by Hans Lippershey in 1608. And in 1609, after 1 year, Galileo started his first astronomical observation. After the introduction of the telescope for celestial observation, modern astronomy started. Galileo produced incredible discoveries that profoundly transformed mankind's perspective on the cosmos. That's all for today's podcast. See you in the next podcast of Space and Astronomy. Take care. Have a great day.